Get ready for a powerhouse of inspiration. Principal Baruti Kafele. A highly regarded educator and a transformational leader, Principal Kafele has spent over 20 years in New Jersey's urban schools, making a lasting impact as both a master teacher and a turnaround principal. Under his leadership, the mighty Newark Tech transformed from a low-performing school to one of America's best, as recognized by U.S. News and World Report 3 times. A recipient of the prestigious Milken Educator Award, Principal Kafele is one of the most sought-after voices in school leadership and equity. He's delivered over 3,000 keynotes, workshops, and seminars across the nation, authored 13 books, including 7 ASCD bestsellers, and continues to empower leaders through his live-streamed AP and New Principals Academy. Please join us in welcoming the extraordinary Principal Baruti Kafele.
And we are live. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to week 238 consecutively of the AP and New Principals Academy. Let me see who we got here checking into the building this morning. We got Yolanda McKinney down here in Texas. That's where I am. I'm in Texas. I'm in Houston. We got Constance Sherrod in the building, tuning in from Mississippi. Mona Obamolak is in Orlando, Florida. Michael Benton, Cincinnati. And, in a serious, to be serious with you, Michael, condolences. I know that you and your pet, your pup, were very close. So that's like family. I understand that. I really do. So our thoughts and prayers are with you, because we've been reading your posts, a lot of us, and I know you've been a little brokenhearted. So we're with you. Val Foster is in the building. Dr. Rachel Edoeket is in Ocean City, Maryland. Arlette Johnson, AP. Arlette is principal. Arlette, we need to talk about that principalship you got going on. She's out in Connecticut. We got Ronald Pugh in Cedar Hill, Texas. Robin Snowden, Hotep. That means peace, y'all. She's in Fresno, California. We got where we at? Grace Castaneda in Kyle, Texas. Takesha High is in Virginia. Marsha Poe is in San Diego. I appreciate y'all West Coasters getting up early too. Rodney Richardson is in Hampton, Virginia. Leslie Akintunde is in Northern Virginia. Stacy Joy, another West Coaster in LA. Good to see you. Good morning to you. Principal Otis Kitchen II. Morning to you, sir. Tashika Truesdale's in Atlanta. Chancellor Davis, Las Vegas, Nevada. Lisa DeBose Walker's in Waco, Texas. Lysandra Brackens is in North Carolina. I'll be there tomorrow in Greensboro, getting ready for Monday morning. Audrey Davis, Atlanta, Georgia. Kimberly B, she on a different platform. That's the queen, not the queen of this castle, because she didn't come join me, man. So I'm in here. I'm on the throne by myself, right? So good morning, good morning. You on YouTube. You stepping up your game. I see you. We got Keisha Davis in the building. AP Patrick Lawrence is in Connecticut. Angelina Hilton, doctor. Yeah, we can't leave that off. Dr. Angelina Hilton is in the building. Principal Dot McKeever Jeter's in the building, Calumet City, Illinois. I've always wondered that if I was pronouncing that correctly. If I haven't, I've been saying it wrong for 5 years. Monty Abner in the building. He's going to be a guest of mine later on, coming up. Golf Fall WT in the building. You know, I'll be at NAPSI on the 21st, man, in Atlanta. National Alliance of Black School Educators. Come on down and check me out. I think I'm on it. I know I'm on it. 245 the 21st, and then we're going to fly right to Philly to be at the Black Male Educators Convening with Sharif El Mekki. 2 dynamite days, man. So come on up to Philly too. James Wilburn. Now, let me take that back. If you're not registered already, don't come to Philly because it's sold out. We got. I said David Bell, Benton Harbor, Michigan. September, Devon Vance Daniels is in Jersey. Keisha Davis, Leesburg, Georgia. Valerie Kelly is in Augusta, Georgia. I'm getting ready to shut it down, y'all. We got Jean Brolis. She's going to be my guest later, too. doing big things, huge things. She'll be my guest later. I don't even know if I said broilers, broils. I can't see. I really cannot see good these days. You know, this with age, your eyes start deteriorating, right? So I got the thick glasses on, but I still can't see. Edwin Garcia is in the building from Jersey. I got to reach out to you at some point, Edwin. And I think I'm going to close it out, man, with Jacqueline Harriet up there in Halifax, Nova Scotia. And I see y'all. I see you. I see Lou Sanders. That's another Jersey educator here. I see you. Let me get it started, y'all, because I gotta do a hard stop today because I got to do a keynote. And I got two important guests on here. So let me say to everybody, good morning. Ooh, that sounds terrible. Greetings. Welcome to week 238 of the AP and New Principals Academy. Hey, man, you know, every Saturday at this precise time, I got the same question. I'm gonna keep asking you that same question. And those of you who are regulars, your fam, you already know the question, but let me give it to you. How are you? How you feeling? Right. That's the question. I think that's the operative question for probably anybody in life, but particularly somebody that's leading a school or an assistant principal. That's some heavy lifting, man. That's not easy work, right? So at some point you gotta bring it down. And I just ask you, how you feeling? And whatever your response is, let's say that you're saying to me, I'm not where I want to be, but I came to the platform. Maybe I can get some of that energy back. Then I'm gonna say to you, make sure that you spend some time. And this is what my guests are gonna be talking about. Spend some time getting you back to who you know, right? Because see, when we're not ourselves, that's not who we know, right? So I want to get you back to who you know. See, when I'm up here, that's who I know. When I'm down here, I mean, I know that guy, but I don't want to know him for too long. Right. I want to get back to where I need to be. Right. So let me go through my announcements, y'all. Hit that share button, hit that retweet. Let them know we here live in Houston, Texas. There's a conference right downstairs. Y'all know Ron Clark from Atlanta, the founder of Ron Clark Academy. I was down there. He was the opening keynote, man. That guy was dancing all over the place, man. That audience, when I get up there. Because I don't bring that. Yeah, I mean, I might get down to little Frankie Beverly. You know how I do, right? My little two-step. But I ain't gonna be jumping around and all that stuff, right? So we get it going. Listen, y'all. Shout out to my brother's keeper in New York, man. I did another speaker training with them this week, man. Young men from New York State and New York City, just training them on the speech that they have to give as members of MBK, my brother's keeper. So that's something I've been doing for years. We do 2 every November. So shout out to them. If any of you are on here, shout out to you. Shout out to Washington Township Schools in Indianapolis. What a day I had. APs, high school leadership team, middle school leadership team, teachers in the evening over dinner. I mean, it was all day. What a day. Shout out to Washington Township schools in Indianapolis, man. Just a great day. Shout out to Dr. Pettigrew. I keep messing that up, man. Pettigrew, who invited me out there. Just had a great time. And then shout out to this conference that I'm getting ready to speak at when I get off of here, National Literacy Institute in Houston, right? Here in Houston. Welcome to all the first timers, y'all. But if this is in fact your first time, that means you missed 237 sessions. But the good thing is you can go to YouTube, AP New Principals Academy, hit the subscribe button, then hit the notification bell so you know when we go live if you forget, and then binge watch them 237 sessions that you missed, man. You know, it's just powerful stuff. So just binge watch it. And then while you're in the middle of subscribing to things, go to my AP and New Principals Academy Facebook page and hit the follow button, hit the like button. I'm in the process now. Y'all be patient with me, those of you who visit the page. I'm in the process of trying to think, how do I how do I revamp that page and make it beneficial? How do I keep it from being a replication of the Principal Kefele Facebook page, right? Because that's essentially what it is, except for the commentaries on Sunday. So I gotta do some deep thinking and think, how do I distinguish this page? I mean, I know what to do, but I know it's going to require a lot of work on my part in terms of how I keep it going. So just bear with me on that. But like and follow that. Make sure you subscribe to that YouTube channel, though, AP and New Principals Academy. Also, I'm back to doing shorts. I call it midweek fire. So every Wednesday, I got a 60-second YouTube video, YouTube shorts. I think them algorithms are messing with me because last year when I was doing them, I was guaranteed anywhere from 1,000 to 3,000 likes on those shorts, and now I'm lucky if I get 100. I don't know if somebody's trying to silence my voice. I don't know what's going on, but maybe I needed to talk about them on this platform. But join me every Wednesday or whenever you can. And if you missed the most recent ones, I got 3 new ones up there. Go to the AP and New Principals Academy YouTube channel and check out those shorts. Right. Let's see. Next one. Let me adjust this screen, y'all, because I got to talk about this. We got where we at here? Here we go. Bam. We got 4 more weeks, y'all. 4 more weeks, and it's going to be released. What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? Here's what I'm not asking. What is my value to the teachers I supervise? I ain't asking that question. I'm asking, what is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? You can go to Amazon right now in pre-order, right? Get it out the way so that when it releases on December 16, it's not sold out. Every book I've written for the past 4 years sold out on release date. And I'm gonna tell you why. Because of this platform. That's why. Because of the volume of people who see me talk about it on here, they sell out, right? So make sure, get yourself pre-order now. You can go to ASCD, you can go to Amazon, ascd.org, Amazon, you can go to barnesandnoble.com, right? Or anywhere else that books are sold. You can go there and pre-order now. We got 4 weeks, so keep your eyes open for that. And then before I get to my monologue, my School Leadership Institute. Remember that hurricane that came to Houston last summer on the day of my institute? I forgot the name of it. I got Houston folks in the wings. They know. But whatever the name of it was, we couldn't do the institute because I brought it to Houston. Usually we're on the East Coast in the South, but we brought it to Houston. We ain't coming to Houston next summer. We're gonna be in Raleigh, North Carolina, right? I mean, that's another region where hurricanes hit hard, but we're just gonna take a chance. But go to principalkefele.com. Scroll down on the homepage, look for the information about the School Leadership Institute, July 15 and 16. Again, July 15 and 16, July 15 and 16. It's an institute. It's just me. I got no breakout session presenters, no partners. It's just me for 2 days from 9 to 4 talking leadership and what you think our topic is. It's right there on the screen. What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? Oh, and there's a gift you get. What's the gift? It's right there on the screen. So if you order a copy now, and you're coming, then give it to a friend and give it to a colleague, right? But still pre-order and still register. So go to my homepage at principalkefele.com and order your book, right? Hit the share button, hit the retweet button, let them know we're here. I got a monologue for y'all this morning, y'all, as I do every day. I will never do these without a monologue. Listen, I'm calling it. I wrote this title literally last night while I was watching Mike Tyson. This kind of popped in my head. If you want to know my thoughts on the Mike Tyson fight, just go to my Facebook page. I ain't gonna get into that. Listen, here's my topic. Let me get serious too, because it's a serious topic. It ties into our topic today. Do not allow yourself to reach your breaking point in this work. Let me say that again. Do not allow yourself to reach your breaking point in this work. What am I saying? Listen, as the title of today's session 238, leading through challenging, difficult, frustrating, and discouraging situations, I have to assume that everybody on this call has been dealing with some stuff, right? Either you have or you're in the midst of it right now, because that goes hand in glove with leadership. Your days are not going to be rosy all the time. Your weeks are not going to be rosy all the time. Your year is not going to be rosy all the time. Your years, plural, could be in a season, years, where it's just not going the way you want it to go. But here's my point, and we'll get deeper into this in the discussion. You cannot allow whatever that is, a situation, some people on the job, parents, certain students, certain just things that accompany leadership. You got to deal with it, but you can't let it break you. Because see, when we reach a point, a breaking point, and we feel that we are broken, sometimes it's hard to repair ourselves, to fix ourselves. So Principal Cafele, then what do I do? Because I'm in that space right now, like I'm getting ready to snap. Somebody saying, "Yeah, I know about it." Let me holler at you real quick. Listen, and a lot of y'all know this already because I've talked about it. 2004. So this is my 20th anniversary. I snapped, y'all. I snapped. They broke me, man. But I got to give it better context because I allowed it. We're talking about a superintendent now. We're not talking about the teachers and the students and the parents and the community. We're talking about my relationship with a superintendent. I don't want to say he broke me. I allowed it to break me. Remember, the topic we're going to use today is situations, not people. So it broke me. Oh, it broke me, man. I literally quit my job without having a job to fall back on. I called the superintendent and literally verbatim, I called him, "Yo, I quit." I did because I've reached my breaking point. So when we reach our breaking point, we can do irrational things. That was irrational. I got 3 children depending on that salary and the benefits that come with it. I got a wife depending on it. I got a house that I was still paying a mortgage back then. And I call a superintendent because I'm ticked off. "Yo, I quit." When I realized what I did, I called them back, to rescind that. Now, I'm not going to get into all what transpired out of that. That's for another time. But I was broken, man. I'm saying to you, you can't be that because I bounced back. Y'all know what I do. But everybody's not going to have the opportunities. I figured it out. So I'm saying to you, when the going gets tough, who are you aligning yourselves with? What are you doing? What are the things you're doing? Just even like I'm looking at a corner right here, right? Sometimes we just need to go to that corner, turn off all your devices, all your television, your radio, everything. Sit in that corner and go deep into you. I promise you, it's a lot of us, man. We don't even know what's in here. I didn't know what was in here. Man, I had reached my breaking point and became irrational. I'm saying as I'm going to transition out of this, because I really could do a whole session on this. Do not allow yourself to reach your breaking point in this work. Realize that this work is difficult work before you even step into it. It is challenging work. It can be overwhelming work. It can be frustrating work. It can be discouraging work, but you needed to know that going in. But here's the bright side. We'll put all that over here. Now let's go over here. But it's also rewarding work as we figure out how to lead and utilize, tap into the people around us, because there are people in that building who are willing to run through a brick wall for you. But the question is, have you tapped into these people? You don't have to do everything. You don't have to be everything. When you build that family and you got people who are not even at your pay grade, who have your back, that changes everything. But again, I need like 2 hours on this topic, so let me just shut that down right now. Hey, Tracy Berry McGee, I see you out there. Good to see you. Good to see you. Hey, folks, hit that share button. Hit that retweet button. Let them know that we are here for week 238 of the AP and New Principals Academy. And I got some guests to bring up here. I got Dr. Lawrence Kohn, and I got Kim. I hope I pronounced your last name correctly. Huseman. I did.
Yep.
I got Dr. Lawrence Kohn. I have never called this man doctor in my life.
You don't need to.
I've been knowing Lawrence Kohn for a long time, y'all. I don't even feel right saying doctor, man.
You don't need to do that.
I got two experts. Listen, y'all, before I introduce them in terms of the bio, we're gonna talk about all this, but they're the founders of Leadership Partners. These are two heavyweights I got on. We're talking leadership. I chose a topic, but we could talk any topic leadership with them. This is what they do. But I want you to do me a favor. Text somebody, call somebody, tag somebody, hit them Facebook groups up, those leadership Facebook groups, hit them up. Let everybody know we are here and we're going to talk this leadership. Now, before I read the bios, when I see a former student on, I got to shout them out, man. I see you, Letitia Anderson Davis. I see you. But Letitia, she was my student when she was a sixth grader. She grown woman now, right? But she was my student. But see, if I gave her the camera right now, she'll say, "And I'm who I am." This is what she's gonna say. "I'm the rebel I am because of Mr. Kafele." That's her phrase, right? So, but and Letitia, I don't mean to give you. I'm not gonna give you age. So I won't give years. But she was with me back in the 90s, right? We'll just leave it like that. So when the former student is still rocking with you decades later, you must have been doing something right? You must have been doing something right. So y'all make sure that as you're leading young people, you're not leading them solely for who they are today, but you're leading them for who they will become. That matters. So we got Dr. Lawrence Kohn, and that's the last time I'm gonna call him doctor. He became a founding partner and chief business development officer for Leadership Partners in December 2016. I'm gonna read fast, y'all. After serving in the role of director of programs and evaluation for the Rice Education Entrepreneurship Program from 2012 to 16. Before working for Rice Education Entrepreneurship Program, Lawrence was a tenure-track professor in the Department of Curriculum and Instruction at Sam Houston State University, where he taught methods courses to undergraduate students and was also coordinator for the secondary teacher program. In addition, he was the founding principal of, I should have asked you how to pronounce this. Let me try it though. Addis, give me that.
Atascocita.
Oh, I was way off. Atascocita High School. Now, I did learn that this is not called humble, because when I spoke in humble, the whole room lit me up, right? So it looks like humble, but it's humble ISD, the principal of Quest High School in Humble, and now Guy Sanzo Early College High School, and former English teacher. He's a published author of multiple articles and book chapters concerning leadership, professional learning, community assessment, and high school reform and redesign. He was named Outstanding Curriculum and Instruction Doctoral Student of the Year in 2001, University of Houston College of Education, and served as a commissioner for the Commission on the Whole Child, ASCD, Washington, D.C., 2005. He received his doctorate in curriculum instruction from the University of Houston, 2001, his Master of Education in Historical, Social, and Cultural Foundation from the University of Houston, 1995, and his Bachelor of Arts in English from Youngstown State University, 1982. And he's got a quote here: the only person who is educated is the one who has learned how to learn and change. From Carl Rogers. Good stuff. Kim Huseman is founding partner and chief talent development officer for Leadership Partners. She is a board certified executive coach, a certified coaching federation accredited coach, and an international coaching federation PCC accredited coach. She is a lifelong educator and her passion for education is a major part of her story. Her parents, siblings, and husband were educators, and now her 3 children are educators too. Kim had the rare opportunity to design, listen to this, y'all, design a high school from the ground up with cutting edge systems, processes, and curriculum. She emerged from this experience as a social action service learning expert, where she became a national leader and an international consultant in that arena. After serving 30 years in public education involving school reform, redesign, and startups, Kim came to Rice University in Houston as the Associate Director of Rice Education Entrepreneurship Program, where she assisted school leaders for 7 years with the focus on leadership and talent development. Finally, Kim's many years of experience and investment in education have allowed her to discover new ideas, lessons, and insights, which she reveals to others through her presentations and coaching. Her unique style and coaching help leaders to transform themselves in profound and positive ways. Powerful stuff. I told you, fam, we got leadership experts on here, so I don't want to stall this. Let's jump right into it. Let me remind everybody: hit the share button, hit that retweet button, tag somebody, text somebody, call somebody, let them know we are here. Let me see what Letitia wrote me. You got that right, Rebel. Duty you, sir. 43 years old and counting. So Letitia's 43. She was my student. I have to say that she was either 11 or 12, and we still rocking. We still rocking. Here we go. Hey, Lawrence, let me start off with you. I got 3 quick ones for you. You were, according to your bio, a founding principal. And I'm always inspired and intrigued when I hear of somebody that's a founder of a school. I was never a founding principal relative to a school, but I was a founding principal relative to a magnet within a school. I became a first-year principal and go right to the superintendent. And we were a magnet school district under this leader. And I asked him, I said, can I include this magnet? And I broke down what it was. You know, it's all in writing and all that kind of thing. And we're having a conversation. It was called the Institute of African-Centered Studies. I'm in East Orange, New Jersey, 99% African-American. I said, I want to infuse this into what we're doing, not just classes, but a whole magnet, right? So my challenge was developing this magnet while avoiding compromising the integrity of the existing magnet, which was science and technology. So instead, to fold them into one as opposed to 2 schools within a school. So my question to you, with all that being said, what were the challenges for you as not only a principal, but a founding principal of a high school?
Well, it was a really interesting context because Humble ISD at the time, Humble, not humble, at the time had 2 comprehensive high schools only and had not opened one in 27 years. So by default, there was a whole lot of expectations from the community. So that was a challenge that I dealt with by creating about every committee you would need to start a school. You know, you invited the community in for a meeting and let them pick what they wanted to work on, and harnessing the community and their voices and listening. It was really helpful to starting, but the real challenge really was, it wasn't so much, you know, like construction and all these kind of things. Those are kind of a pain when you're starting a school. But it was really just, you know, getting the community involved. And then once the community was involved, then you had we were starting the school because there was one that was way too large. One of the 2 schools that existed was way too large. So the other challenge was, how do you not purge that school of all its good teachers? And so there's a big balancing act that we had to play to recruit new teachers and also let the ones from the school that was overcrowded move to a new school. And then you had to get everybody on the same page. And so, you know, I had them all sign something called a commitment and expectation agreement. You know, this is what I need from you, and this is what I'll give you back. We all got to be on the same page to start. So those are the things that kind of come to mind to me.
Yeah. I love it. It's anytime you're starting something new, into the fam out there, because there could be fam out there who's either done that or you will, and it's a lot to juggle, you know, because it's one thing to just walk into a building and be that leader, but it's another thing to start it from scratch, right? So you came from being an English teacher. Were you an AP before you became a principal?
No, you know, the other school we talked about that Kim was talking about, Quest High School, that became Guy Sconzo Early College High School, and that was because of Kim, by the way. Kim was on the founding design team of that school, and then I was the first core of English teachers that wound up in the school, and I wound up being the third principal of that school. And I had never been an AP in my life. Now, that school only had 250 kids and about 15 adults. But if you've never been an AP before, that's even a big challenge.
Yeah.
And then Cecilia, who you knew, who was one of our other partners a long while back, she had been the principal at Quest and went to central office. And she just kind of told me, guess what you're going to do? And that was it, man. It was baptism by fire for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So the question really wasn't an AP question. My question was, what was it about those days as an English teacher that you got to the point where you said, principal leadership is something that I can do? What was the motivation behind that?
Well, I would say that when I was at Quest, and Kim was there as well. We've been colleagues for a very, very long time. I hadn't really thought about that, to be quite honest with you. And then what happened was during that time, that's when I worked on my master's degree and my doctorate, and I got very interested in professional learning community. You know what I discovered, and this won't shock you, is that the leader has to have certain traits and dispositions to really create an authentic professional learning community, which became sort of the study that I did for my dissertation. It was an ethnography, but it was a case study about, how does leadership sustain reform and make a small school like this really hum? And that led me to be much more interested in leadership, because the theme that came out was as leadership was the linchpin for successful PLC in this particular case. So she asked me, I was like, yeah, I would love to lead a school that I helped start and I know all these people so well. And so it was a natural, easier transition than being hired and walking into that. I don't know if I could have had the same experience, I guess is the way to say it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the last question before I go to Kim is the question I ask every guest who comes on this platform. As an educator, who is Dr. Lawrence Kohn?
Someone who puts children and now adults at the center of everything. I mean, we do what we do because we're super passionate about supporting leaders, and your focus kind of changes. I think you'll understand what I talk about. When your students are your students in your English class, they're your world. Everything you're going to do is for them, and you're going to make sure that they have good experiences and you know them well and you support them all the way through. Well, then it changes when you become a leader. Your focus, your class now is your teachers. And so you have to then really, really focus on them. And now Kim and I are lucky enough to be in a position where we can really help leaders, help their teachers, help their students. So I think it's just always having the focus on just education itself and just all the moving parts, and just making sure that the two of us can do as much as we can to make schools in Texas and beyond as strong as they can be for children.
Yeah, you have so many people who have gone through your program. Both of you, Ricardo Yanis is here.
Oh, yeah.
And certainly,
Ricardo.
Yeah, and Ricardo is, he's fam of this platform. I think he's been with us from day one. And, and just so many of the folks who have gone through the program. Jonathan Kegler is another one I know. It's a lot of them that I know. I just can't think offhand names. But, yeah, a whole lot of folks benefited. So before we get into all that, let me go to Kim. And I'm going to read this because of what I wrote. I could never memorize this. You are the Chief Talent Development Officer for Leadership Partners. You are a board certified executive coach, a certified coaching federation accredited coach, and an international coaching federation PCC accredited coach. My question, it's not a question, well, somewhat of a question. What I want, break this down, like what is that I just read? What does it mean?
That's a good question. That's just a whole bunch of letters, Principal Cafele.
Yeah.
Honestly, it just is that I've had quite a bit of coaching training, and I would say ICF, which is International Coach Federation, is that's sort of the gold star or whatever of coaching. And it's so interesting because before I came to Rice University, to be honest, I didn't even know what those words were, that they existed. But it's probably like other people who talk to us as educators, and we have all those letters, and they're the same thing. They don't necessarily know what they mean. But I just think what is important to know about it is that um, there is a real niche for coaching and leadership, and you would want to get the right kind of coach if you ever got one. And for me, what it meant, to be really honest, is it just opened up a whole new world for me about how do I really lead myself, and that coaching is such an important part. And I'm not just talking about having a coach, that's certainly helpful, but I'm talking about just me being my own coach. And as an educator, all those years, I'm not sure that ever really came into my mind that I actually had power, and lots of it, by the way, to coach myself and move myself forward and actually really focus on me. And as a result, lead much, much better.
Yeah, yeah, good stuff. So closely associated with that, in your bio, it says you had, and I got to read this too, you had a rare opportunity to design a high school from the ground up with cutting edge systems, processes, and curriculum. You emerged from this experience as a social action service learning expert, where you became a national leader and an international consultant in that arena. So similar to Lawrence, walk us through this process of
Mhm.
how you designed a school from the ground up.
It was a very interesting process. And honestly, at the time, and I was very young, so pretty naive about what an opportunity it was, to be honest. But when I first got asked to do this, I was a classroom teacher in a discipline program. I think they call them a DAP program. And I had been that for about 9 years. And I love that work, by the way. And in that work, and this is why I'm wondering, why me? Because I've wondered that myself. We had a very large district, and I was in this little bitty program for kids that, had been removed from regular high schools. And so one of the things I think, though, is that to really reach those students, I was pretty innovative. And I really believed, I always believe in the best in kids. That's feel like one of my strong suits. Try to see the best in people in general, but really, really thought that every kid had so much goodness in them and so much potential. And how do you just really connect or click or have that kid connect with himself so he can bring that out? And so one of the ways in which that happened when I was at the discipline program was I asked permission if I could start to give these students what I called real experiences and behaviors that would serve them well in life. So if we could give them and create experiences where they could go out and do good work, feel good about themselves, be important to somebody else, that would really build some of the muscle that a lot of these kids had lost, which is I don't believe in myself. I certainly don't feel good about myself, and the rest of the world doesn't feel really very good about me either. At least that's my perception. And so we developed some partnerships with um, a local retirement home that was mostly indigent care. So lots and lots of people had no one seeing them or going to visit with them or anything. And then there was an elementary school that was about a block away, and I developed a partnership with that elementary school where my students could go in and be a helper. And they did this every week. They went in for an hour and a half every week, and to the rest home we bust them there. But what their goal was is that we came up with some behaviors that they were really going to try to work on, and this was kind of co-created with me and each student. And it was going to be things like, I'm going to show initiative. I'm going to work on my people skills. I'm going to really help somebody and be able to articulate what I did and how it made me feel. So you're really looking at some of that. Now we call them EQI skills, and we call them, your behavior skills, in terms of what we would call successful behaviors for just human interaction. And then I would go over there and watch students, obviously, and we would talk about what was going on. And when I first did it, I remember I had to go to the school board and talk to them about this. And they were so worried about it. And I could see why. I mean, what if the kid does this? What if the kid does that? And so I had to do a lot of convincing, I guess, to give me a chance. They let me pilot it, and then they finally let me do it for the whole school. But it was really successful. And kids did such good work. And I remember one time, just as an example, I had a student, and I love this kid, but he had been he had been in my discipline program every year since he was a ninth grader. He was a senior. So he'd go back to the main campus, get sent back, go back to the main campus, get sent back. And as a senior, it's like this is his last chance to let's really get some skill building so that you really have a chance to do some things with your life. And so I put him in the rest home. I matched him at the rest home, and he said, "Man, I want to go to the elementary school. I want to work with first graders." So he was upset about it. And I said, "No, I think this is going to be a great place for you." And there was a resident there who only spoke Spanish, and most of the workers there did not speak Spanish. And so there's a man that no one comes to visit, no one speaks his language, and he's in this home day and night. And this kid came in there, and I would say almost immediately, they developed this bond, and they became very good friends. And the nurses told me that this man really honestly transformed in the year that he came, and that he looked forward to his visits, and they exchanged a few gifts. He gave this student gave this gentleman a hat, and it was so cute. You had this little old man, and we would get there, and he wore his hat backwards because that's how the student wore it. And we'd get in there, and there was this little old man in his wheelchair with his little hat backwards, and he gave my student a belt buckle that was really a beautiful belt buckle, and my student wore it every day. And so there was this cool bond that was created. And I really did see so much growth in my students that, the whole point of that was just that I think that was a standout. And when they were looking for people to do something different, one of the things that they told me was, we'd like to see some of this kind of learning, because we always say we want to do character ed. We have to help people be better people. But what was character ed really? We're going to read a book and talk about it. We're going to maybe do something in the classroom, that we're grateful for. But when you really think about building good character, you actually have to experience it. You have to practice it. You have to be doing good character.
Yeah.
And so I think that was my big reason that I ended up there at Quest. And so when we first started, this sounds so silly, but when we first started,
hang on, Kim, because I'm gonna let you infuse that. We got a lot on here. This is
okay.
Good. Yeah. So let me and then you can infuse that into your.
All right. So certainly.
Yeah, we got like 7 pages, right? So listen, let's what I did, this is for the fam now, because my guests noticed. Thinking back, those of you who are on with the monologue, and we're talking about not reaching those breaking points, but leading through challenging, overwhelming, frustrating, discouraging situations, right? I created these 12 scenarios, and I want to delve into it, and I put on my principal's hat, and what were those things that I felt were overwhelming? What are those things that just my interaction with principals throughout my life that I hear that are overwhelming, that are challenging, that are frustrating, that are discouraging? And I wanted to have my guests engage in some conversation over that. So I'm not gonna call the two of you by name, just whomever wants to jump in here, and then the other one, if the other one wants to add to it, then I want you to do it that way. So let's look at these scenarios, and I want to open it up by saying this. When I'm in rooms with principals, which includes this week that we just concluded, it is a rare day that a principal will express a frustration, a discouragement, a challenge, whatever, as it relates to their work, when the assistant superintendent and the superintendent is in the room. It's a rare day that I will hear that. That in and of itself speaks to me that there's a challenge in this district of being open about whatever as it relates to the leadership when the superior is present in the room. So when that superior now has to go to a meeting, now I got to fight to get my mic back, because they all have things to say, and particularly around those things that are overwhelming, right? So I hope that what I've put together speaks to a lot of people who are on this call, or people who aspire to become leaders one day. So here's number one: the volume of paperwork and demands coming from so many central office departments at the same time that it becomes very difficult to keep up with. I remember before I was a principal before the internet and during the internet. So I remember these stacks of interoffice mail coming to my office every day, and with these same deadlines coming from this department, that department, this department, that department, and I still got to answer to the superintendent, and I still got to lead the school. I'm sure that there are people on this call, if you all put it in the chat right now, that are dealing with the same types of things. So much coming from so many different directions, and you're trying to figure out, how am I going to fit it all into the space of time that I have? Somebody, either one of you, jump on in here. What would you say to that leader who has that frustration right now?
I think one thing I'd say immediately is, that the whole win model, what's important now. And I think when we look at that massive amounts and we're trying to deal with all of it, now we lose focus. Now we are, absolutely disjointed. And so trying to keep that in mind, that I have a lot coming at me and it's going to come at me every day. So what's important now, and knowing that and being able to beeline into my focus so I actually get things done. One thing I would say.
So let me ask you before you jump in, Lawrence, and
Sure.
if you want to even take the question, what can I do to make my life better? Because because as I wrote this, I'm him. That stuff, and then when email became a thing, it's I can't keep up with that. I got my own personal email, but then I got my district email, and it's I got 50 emails. That's all in district. It's all in house. How do I organize myself to keep my sanity from being frustrated, from being discouraged from this work, and want to go back into the classroom, for example? Good. Anybody?
Yeah, so I think it has a lot to do with choosing to distribute some leadership, which a lot of leaders have a really hard time doing, because, I think a lot of people take on a principal. For you new principals, you take on the role and you think, well, they hired me, I got to be the hero, I got to come in here and fix everything, and I got to do everything that they tell me to do, because that's why they picked me. And you start to kind of think to yourself, hey, you know what? I'm in charge of all this stuff. I can't let anybody else do that, because if they mess up, I'm going to be in trouble. So it's coming to the realization that you don't have to do that, and that there are a lot of people you can trust to do things, and that's how you grow your own leaders. And so if you've got an AP team, like when I was at Atascocita High School, I had an associate, I had 8 APs. Do you think I tried to do everything by myself? No way. I had them doing stuff all over the place. I mean, I would distribute as much stuff as I could to them. And we talked all about that. You start in the beginning of the year, and you can assign certain specialty areas to people that match their strengths. And then you just have to be trusting enough to let them do things. And it's still never going to solve the whole slew of emails and mandates that you get. But I think the message is, you just don't have to go it alone. There's a whole lot of people that can help you. And to Kim's point, you got to be able to triage and say, hey, what do I have to really do now? What could be done later? And you have to be smart enough to be able to organize what's hitting you into stages, and I guess triage.
Yeah.
I'd also say to me, a big key about delegating is certainly for what Lawrence's thought, what it does for you, but think about what it does for the people that you're delegating. When you can delegate and empower people, you really are building trust in them. And obviously you're building their muscle to lead, but you're showing them that you trust them, and you're engaging them with you. And when we are engaging and empowering the people that we lead, they're much happier, and we are much happier.
Yeah. I'm with the two of you so much. The question becomes, a fam out there, how are we utilizing the human capital in the building, the human resources in the building? Are we trusting others? Are we growing others? Are we developing others?
That's
That
right.
I know that when I give you this, I don't even have to give it a second thought. I know it's done. You know,
Mhm.
but to the two of you, I'll say this too. I got to a point because it was so overwhelming that I began to talk to these folks who were sending all these emails and sending all these memos through interoffice mail before email became a big thing. And here's what I learned. They didn't realize how overwhelming it was because in their mind, they're just thinking about their department. So they're
Yeah.
not thinking about the multiplicity of other departments in central office who could be simultaneously sending all these emails. So now at an administrators meeting, I can have that conversation with, wait a minute, y'all, do you realize when you send me an email, it's not just you? I know that things have to get done, but we needed to rethink the process so that the principal isn't so overwhelmed. But what you said about the building is spot on in terms of how we're utilizing people. And folks that are on the call and thinking, but I only have one assistant principal, or I only have one, or I have no assistant principal because we only have 300 kids in the building. I'm not just talking about administrators. I'm talking about classroom teachers. I'm talking about whomever is an employee in that building. There are people in that building who will go to bat for you if you've developed a real family in that building. There are people in that building who will run through a brick wall for you if you have developed a real relationship with people in your school. But that's a whole other topic. Let's go to number 2. You want to jump in? Good.
Only thing I was going to say is, Principal Cafele, was that the other piece of this, and I think this goes back to a lot of what I believe around just coaching yourself.
Mhm.
But the other piece of this is that how I decide to treat and believe about all this stuff coming at me makes a big difference. In other words, if I am telling myself, I'm overwhelmed, I can't do this, this is too much, oh my gosh, I think I think I'm gonna have to go back to the classroom. Um, I mean, this is going to be a catastrophe. My self-talk takes me in whatever direction that it is whatever I audit, that's where my brain goes. And that's how my brain behaves, and that's how my brain keeps nagging at me. So if I am telling myself a lot of negative things and that I can't do this and I'm overwhelmed and this is too much, then it is. And so I have to really manage what I'm saying to myself, because whatever I say to myself, my brain believes, and that's where it goes. So I've got to really work on that to be able to say, hey, got a lot on my plate, but one thing at a time, and I can get this done. I was hired for a reason. That people believe in me, I believe in myself. That's a different self-talk than the other one.
You know, and I'm taking a real chance on this now. I'm breaking my sequence because when you said self-talk, I don't even want to leave now. I want to stay right there. Kim, you tell me when anything you say that you want me to put that graphic up, right? And I'll put it right up.
Okay.
Go deeper for me.
Okay.
What are you saying when you say
Well,
self-talk?
I think most people, and I have no idea why we don't know this, but we don't know this in general. We don't really think about what's going on in our brains. We're just existing all day long and living our lives, our busy, busy lives. But very, very rarely are we really stopping to think about what's happening in our brains and where our brain is taking us. And so, what I mean by that is, am I really a good observer of myself? Can I stop at any moment and say, okay, where am I right now? What am I saying to myself? How am I feeling? If I can ask myself those two questions, I know pretty quickly where I am. Okay, for example, okay, I'm saying that this is imploding on me and I'm feeling absolutely panicked. Okay, now I've observed myself a minute. And when I say observe, I'm not saying that I'm judging myself, you idiot. Of course you are. That's a judge. I'm not defending. I can't help it. Of course, this is how I feel. That's a defender. I'm not criticizing. I'm observing. Let me stop a second. Take a breath. Where am I right now? And once I do that, the power of observation begins everything in my mind. Now I've got a gauge. So I've established this gauge that I have. And then I can just ask myself, okay, does this serve me well? And that's the really most important question, because if it doesn't, I need to learn to shift it, because I can't let my day tumble into the worst day ever, because I've never had any gauge or I've never had any recourse in terms of stopping to say, I don't want to go this direction. I am literally pushing myself into a really bad corner here. But for most of us, we let the day tumble instead of stopping it and shifting and moving the energy, moving the self-talk, looking for some good things, taking some small steps for some small wins, and changing really the whole rest of the day.
Good stuff. Good stuff. And I mean that whole self-talk, that's a whole session, you know, because there's so much we could say about this. I'll keep going because we got so much here. Here's my second scenario. This is sort of coupled with the first one. The workload is overwhelming, requiring hours upon hours of a leader's time. It is not uncommon for a leader, particularly at the secondary level, meaning middle and high school, to do 14-hour days. It is not uncommon for a leader to work 70 hours, and I'm talking about a week in the building, right? That's not to mention the number of hours of work that the leader brought home, or not doing work, but my mind, I'm so preoccupied. My fam is trying to talk to me, but my mind is on tomorrow morning, right? My mind is on this situation that happened. So now with the 70 hours that a leader could put in, then there's just unlimited hours that I'm just thinking about the work. That when do I devote my energy, my time to things outside of the work? So that kind of is the question, but I gave it to you as a scenario. Talk to that leader who's spending the 70 hours. Do I have to continue to do that?
Well, in my opinion, and you could put up this particular slide there, the what's in my control, what's out of my control slide. But I really do believe that we believe in general that we can work ourselves into success. And quite frankly, what I can do is work myself into a nervous breakdown, into a breakdown. And so the only person who can really manage my time and manage what I say is important is me. And so I really have to be careful about where's my time and where is my mind time going. And I have to really stay what's in my control, because where we have the most power as human beings is what is in our control, our own boundaries, because I set them. Nobody's setting boundaries for me. I have to set my own boundaries, my thoughts and actions, which goes back to the observer of self and making sure I'm putting the right thoughts in, the goals that I'm setting, what I'm giving energy to, how I'm talking to myself, how I handle challenges. That's not by chance. It just happens. I get to control how I handle them. And then sometimes we spend a whole lot of time outside our circle. And some people actually spend more time outside their circle. And those places are not where you have a lot of control. And it's a lot of spinning of your wheels. And so I think just remembering, as I'm panicking about all this stuff, what narrows it down immediately is to say, stop, what's in my control right now? And that right now is a good part of the question. What's in my control right now? So I've come home, and at this point, the day's over. At this point, I'm not, I can't fix this for what's ever happening until tomorrow. But yet I came home and I worried about it all night long, and I missed out on my family. Okay, that's on us. We have to control what we think. We have to control what we're allowing to obsess us, what we are allowing to overtake our minds. We have to stop and be able to say, you know what? That's out of my control now. I'm putting that up, and I'm going to go play with my kids. I'm going to go sit out in my back porch and enjoy the sunshine. I'm going to let some of this stress come off of me so I can get back in there tomorrow.
Love it.
And Principal Kafele, I can tell you that when I opened Atascocita High School, It was in 2005. I lasted a whole 2 years after I opened it because I did not know how to do what she's talking about. That's why I wound up being a professor up at Sam Houston, which was a goal of mine anyway. But those 2 years, I did not understand my ability to control what I had to control and didn't. And to Kim's point, I lived in that white area way too much, and it did me in. I mean, I'm just going to say it because it was true. I'm just being vulnerable. It did me in. And when I came to Rice and started working with Kim and listening and learning about coaching and learning how you think and talk about yourself and how you perceive yourself, that was extremely eye-opening for me. And the conclusion I had was every leader needs to know how to do this stuff, because if you cannot be self-aware enough to lead yourself and be in control of what you're doing inside your head, you're not going to have a good time. You're just not. And I know that because I didn't have a good time.
Yeah, I love it. You know, before I go to the third one, and let me come out of the share right quick, and I'll bring it back up as need be. I want to highlight this young man on the screen right quick, y'all. Armand Wilson. I hope I pronounced that correctly. He said, "We must remember to think about the small rocks and the big rocks. What needs to immediately happen and what can be put off." Now, I don't have him on the screen for his comment, although the comment is extremely valid. I have him on the screen. I just met him virtually last week. He is a high school senior, and his principal told him about me. And he'd been watching this platform. I didn't know that, right? But he sent me an email and he said, "I want to be a teacher and I want to be a principal." So he's reached out to me, told him I'll be in touch real soon. And I just want to highlight that because we're a leadership platform, but sometimes you don't know who's on the other side of these cameras, right? And this is a high school student that's part of the fam, not just somebody that checks in. He's fam, right? So he's a high school student that wants to be a teacher, that wants to be a principal. Kudos to the principal of that school, Washington Marion High School in Lake Charles, Louisiana, who told him about this platform, right? And then I'm sure she probably heard about it through Ronnie Harvey, Ronnie Harvey, who was the Louisiana secondary principal of the year a year ago, who's also been on this platform, right? So yeah, Crystal Bowie is the principal over at Washington Marion. So I'm just excited about this, y'all. That's why I'm spending a little time talking about it, that a high school student is on here getting information, and not only getting information, but writing comments in the thread. It really doesn't get much better than that, right? So shout out to you, Armand. I'll be in touch with you this week. If I can, I'll hit you up tomorrow, right? So let's go. And we got another heavyweight that said, "Well done to you, Armand. You're setting yourself up for incredible success," and that's from somebody who's doing big time things. Let's go, y'all. Here's another one, man. This is a big one. Perceived unrealistic, and I'm putting emphasis on this word perceived unrealistic expectations of the principal's performance by the superintendent. Let me read that again. Perceived unrealistic expectations of the principal's performance by the superintendent. Now, let me tell you what I'm saying before you jump in. I'm saying that this principal has a perception that the expectations that have been placed upon this principal are not realistic, right? They may be realistic, but this principal perceives that this is not a realistic expectation that you're holding me to. What are your thoughts? Because I bet you that person is on this thread right now watching.
Well, I think it goes back to what we were just talking about. If you perceive that someone is observing you in an unfair way, I think that's coming from within and not from the superintendent, right? Because you did say the word perceive. Yeah. So that person is already engaging in negative self-talk. They're already saying to themselves, "Hey, this dude's putting some weight on me that I can't do anything about," and it might not even be real. And so then you're going to have anxiety and you're not going to sleep well and you're going to be worried about it. And every time you walk in the room with the superintendent, you think he's staring at you and all that stuff. So it goes right back to what Kim's talking about. You have to take a step back and say, hey, why am I perceiving that? And is it really valid?
Yeah.
Well, I think a big piece of leadership is managing up, right? And so, to Lawrence's point, if that was my perception, then I need to test that. I would, and I'm not saying in an adversarial way at all, but why couldn't I have a meeting with the superintendent and say, here's what I'm thinking. I want you to help me with this. Is this what you're actually expecting of me? Because you might end up with a really great conversation that gives you a lot of ease when it's over with.
Yeah.
It's true.
Let's stay with this one. I'm trying to keep it neutral. So there's this principle that's just putting in the work, just night in and night out. The one I described before, the 60 to 70 hours a day, and I'm overwhelmed. I'm frustrated. I don't love this work anymore. This is not what I signed up for. This is not what I went to grad school for. This is not what I prepared for those interviews for. This is not what I was excited about. And now the superintendent doesn't even feel that I'm measuring up. And I feel that I'm going above and beyond. Talk to me, Kim, and then Lawrence, check in. Talk to me about that self-talk of that guy. That woman.
Well, there's another chart I want you to put up real quick.
The other one you said, right?
It's called the energy.
Yeah, I got you.
Emotional.
Yeah, I got you. Here it comes.
So let me talk about this one a little bit, because I think this one is huge. Back to us understanding our brains and, knowing who we are. And so what I would say about this is that we walk into every situation. I mean, we know from the law of physics, a chair has energy, a table has energy. As human beings, we carry all this energy with us. And so we walk around with energy all day long. But let's go with the words you picked, Principal Kafele. You said that you have a lot of anxiety and regret. Man, did I get in the right thing? Maybe even despair. If you look at those three words, you're at 100 hertz. You can measure energy in hertz, and you're at 100 hertz. And if I'm actually walking around in despair, I'm at 50 hertz. So let me ask you something. If I'm walking around with 50 hertz of energy, which is very low negative juju that I'm walking around with, how am I leading effectively? That's my first question. How's that happening? Because frankly, I don't want to follow somebody in that energy space. And so what I would say for this person, if that's where you found you were, the first realization you have to have is, I control my energy, not the world controls my energy, not the situation controls my energy. That's that whole external locus of control. I'm giving everything to the external, saying, okay, you guys, however the world hits me today, that's how I'm going to be. As opposed to, I'm going to wake up in the morning and I know who I am and how I want to live and how I want to show up. And that's how I'm going to be. So, taking charge of you controlling the energy. And I'm not saying that we have to stay at, fa la 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 world all the time. But if I wake up in the morning, I at least need to wake up in the green section. I need to wake up with some courage and some willingness and some optimism. Today's going to be a great day. If I wake up in the morning in the 50 hertz thing, man, I got a long way to have a decent day. Long way. And so just to know that I am in control of my energy. And when I realize that I'm in a bad place, I need to shift it. That's my job, because this is me. I can't wait for something out here to shift my energy. So that's the first thing I would say is we got to get our energy in the right headspace. If I start out with 300 hertz every day, I'm willing, man, it doesn't take much and I'm having a great day. And even if I falter, I'm here at willing. Here's a great day. Here's a bad day. I'm at willing. And something happens, I get to school, and man, 3 things happen, and I find myself over here in anger. I'm mad. But I notice it. I'm back to the observer of myself. I notice it. I can kick that thing up by saying, wait a second. Hey, you got this. This is my information. I'm affirming myself. You've got this. It's going to be all right. You know what? I didn't like the way that happened, but you know what? I'm going to go back and I'm going to work on that. So now I'm going into optimism. I can do that. If I'm starting down here, it's a low level to just get to willingness.
Hey,
So
hey,
it's
Kim,
just really important.
let me ask you, Kim, and you are. I just looked at my phone so I could see how this is look. So I'm not on the screen in terms of my view, but I think I'm on the screen in terms of everybody else's view. So here I am in that yellow, that beige, that orange, and or even red, right? My question, Kim, are there scenarios where let's go down to that 50, 30, 20 hertz, right? Are there situations where I may need others to help me out of there? Like I need to extend my hand for you to pull me up. Can I pull myself out of there? And the reason I'm asking you this question is because I'm thinking about what I shared during my monologue when I was in there. Tell me what's because I got these words over the 30. What word is under the 30?
Under the 30 is guilt and blame.
Okay.
And then the 20 is shame and humiliation.
All right, where I was, and I won't put the word hate in there, but where I was anger, right? That's where I was, and for a minute, I wasn't getting myself out of that.
Right.
I was kind of enjoying it, right? In a weird kind of way. No one got me out of it outside of just, in terms of professionally, certainly my family did, but it wasn't like we were having. They were counseling me. They were just there in terms of being supportive of me. I guess my mother was probably counseling, right? But just talk to us about reach a point where we need to reach out to somebody to help us get out of that.
Well, let's back up. So let's say that I realized I'm angry. And if you look at that observer of yourself, you're not going to immediately always get out of it. You just have to observe it. Remember, I'm just observing it. I'm not chastising myself for being there. That's back to the critic. I'm just saying, wow, I am so angry right now. And I'm going to think through that. Well, what am I angry about? And why am I angry? And I'm going to sit with it a little while, which is what you did, right? When you gave your scenario. Then after I sat with it for a little while, I'm deciding, and this is where you have to take some action. This is where you shift energy. I'm going to say, now I've sat with it for a couple of days and it's not serving me well. It's really not. And I need to shift it. And this is about shifting your energy. And it's a conscious decision. It's not going to just happen. I have to shift it. And there are ways to shift energy. But optimism is one of the best ways because optimism and low energy can't exist in the same space. It's impossible.
Right.
So I can work on so that, you're thinking about steps. Steps would be I need to be really looking at the optimistic side of this. And there's 1,000 reasons to be optimistic versus pessimistic, to be honest. But I look at being optimist. And then in addition to that, I work on my self-talk. I need, because a lot of times when we're angry at somebody else, but we're also a lot of times angry with ourselves. We're very unforgiving to ourselves. So I've got to work at really building myself back up to say, hey man, I've got this. And I can take some steps to fix this. And I got to trust myself a little bit. And maybe I have to forgive myself even. And maybe I have to forgive somebody else to get past this. And so you could shift energy. And what's weird is there's 3 quick ways to shift energy to more positive energy. And they're so easy. Here's the first one: breathing. Our breathing techniques are so important. And there's only about 7% of the people that really use breathing as actually a tool. So, if you get online right now, and I went and looked at breathing techniques, I looked this up one time, there's 13 pages online of different breathing techniques that you can do. There's thousands of them. Find one that's easy. Practice it. Learn to really make that part of your practice. And that's an immediate calmer. lowers your blood pressure, lowers your heart rate, immediately calm.
Mm.
Another energy shifter, which is the opposite, is exercise. Exercise is a great energy shifter. And I'm saying I'm in my office and I can't go and run outside right now. That'd be pretty goofy, right? I'm a principal. But I could certainly shut my door and maybe go over there and do some push-ups. Just, and that sounds crazy, but that is so powerful because what are you doing now? You know what this is. This is your endorphins. So you're immediately raising your energy levels when you do that. And then the third way is just, this spirituality mental way. I can actually meditate. I can pray. I can do something that really brings me to a state where of calm because I am seeking out something like a prayer, like meditation, that is a calming force. And so there are quick ways to shift energy too. Here's the bottom line. If I'm not aware that I have control of it, then I'm never shifting it. It ain't ever happened.
Mm.
Won't ever happen. So the awareness is so big. And remember, I'm walking around with energy all day long. So why wouldn't I set my energy in the morning? Why wouldn't I wake up and say, hey, this is who I'm going to be today? And during the day, I'm holding myself accountable. Hey, am I doing the things that I held myself, that I told I was going to do this morning? Oh, wait a minute, I'm not. Okay, now I need to shift. But it's just that awareness. It's easy, simple things. And so to your point, when would you need help? It's a great question. As a coach, there are clients that I say, I really couldn't coach you. Here's your toolbox. You've got to learn to use them. But at some point, maybe you need somebody beyond that. And I'm a huge proponent that if I have a thought partner who could be a counselor, and now it's so easy to have a counselor or a coach, but because you can do everything virtual, I might need some help to help me build my skills. But at the end of the day, it's not that person can't help you forever. If I coach you, Principal Caffelli, I can't help you forever. You have to take the tool set and the toolbox and you have to coach yourself because there's where your power lies. Not with me, but with you.
Two things. One, just want to bring clarity. Armin, as you all see, he's a sophomore, not a senior. So we're talking about a very young man, just 2 years out of 8th grade.
That's awesome.
Yeah, this on the platform, right? But a second one, this is a friend of mine, a colleague of mine, and a former guest on the platform. But also, without me going into all the specificity, I mean, it's public knowledge, but I just don't. I'm just going to keep it on the surface. This is also a principal of a school with a school shooting, right? So I think I really get the spirit of what she's asking. Affirming self is critical. Can you offer strategies or coping mechanisms you recommend? Some people find it challenging to affirm self, and I can only imagine. In fact, I actually know what she dealt with in the aftermath of what she experienced as the principal of a building with a gunman in the school and all that occurred as a result.
Yes, I do think it's interesting that, and I was in public schools for 30 years. I think it's so interesting that we never in our public school systems, at least most of them, and I would hope that some do, but we really don't talk to kids about what it means to really love myself. What does it mean to really be able to manage myself? And we just don't have those conversations. And it's so critically important because we grow up talking to ourselves 24/7. And if you look at your self-evaluations, this is nuts. But if you look at your self-evaluations, 80% of our self-evaluations are negative. But why? Because we have a negativity bias. This is who we are, right? And so that stands to reason then we have to work at putting the good stuff in. We have to do that. So as suggestions, a couple of things. Some people find gratitude journals do a whole lot of good, but where I would have the shift on the gratitude journal is I wouldn't say I'm thankful for my parents, I'm thankful for my children, I'm thankful, but more of this thing. My gratitude journal is specifically what I do that I'm thankful for. I'm thankful that I have a good soul. I'm thankful that I have a lot of resilience. It's about me. So a gratitude journal would be one suggestion. This other suggestion sounds crazy, but there's so much research behind it that's so helpful. And that is our ears need to hear ourselves say good things about ourselves. So it's not just about what's going on in my head that I'm thinking in my brain. It's literally about me saying it. So one of the things that I always tell clients is, if you could write down the things that you most need affirmation on and that you most want to affirm yourself on, write down those statements, record them on your phone, and every morning you start your day with those statements, you hearing them on your phone. I'm on my way to work, push it, I hear it. I'm in my office, it's a hard day, push that 30-second reel of me reminding myself who I am, what I bring to the table, what I love about myself. There's a lot of power in doing that. And then the other piece is, in terms of just affirming, it's being able to, I would say, move away from negative talk and change positive talk. So one thing I would just say is, here's what is true positive talk. And people sometimes don't know this. So if I said, for example, let's just say my statement is, let's just say, Lawrence, name something that you want to be or want to be better at. Just name anything.
I'd love to be a better listener.
Okay. So these were all that I'm about to say are negative self-talk, believe it or not. I hope I can be a better listener. Nah. I want to be a better listener. No. I will be a better listener. No. I wish I were a better listener. No. I am a better listener. Every day I'm listening better. You see what I did? Present tense, period. So that's something I would really say. And if I'm posting my affirmations, and I have affirmations posted on my computer, always present tense, just like that.
She does. They're all over in stickies, all over her computer.
And mine were all over the building. Same line of thinking, and just everywhere you walked in that building, including hanging from the ceiling, affirmations just staring you down. Even if you wanted to avoid them, you can't. Like if you say, I'm tired of all this positivity, I'm not going to look at the walls, but as you're walking down the hall, it's hanging from the ceiling. You can't miss it, right? Let's go even deeper, y'all. The pressure to lead a low functioning, low performing, meaning achievement, school when teachers are covering classes every day due to vacancies and teacher absences. So let me set this up. Let me read it again. The pressure to lead is the low functioning, low performing school where teachers are covering classes every day due to vacancies and teacher absences. So now here you are, you leader, you were excited about coming into this space. And now the reality is you have a lot of teachers who are not reporting to work for whatever the reason. And now your superstars who were there all the time, they don't have planning time. They've got to cover classes and then teach their own classes. And you're losing them because they're burning out. Right? And you're the leader of this. So as these these leadership experts that I have on the screen, and knowing, I don't know this in terms of my conversations with anyone on this thread, but I know this just in terms of what I know about leadership, that leader is on this thread, or most of all guests are not on the thread, they're just watching. So that leader is on the other side of this camera saying, oh my God, Kefele knows my world. My teachers are covering classes. My teachers are burning out. I've got teachers who are not coming to work. My achievement is in the basement, single digits, right? The functioning of this school relative to the culture is a shambles. So what do you say?
Well, one thing that we have, taught on and off over the years, whether it was in REAP or in the program that we're running right now, is something that was started by, it's not like a 100-day plan or anything like that. It's called entry planning. And entry planning is what you do when you start a new position. However, this principal has been in this position and his school's in shambles. I would advise that person to re-enter his school because he's lost touch with what's going on. So what I mean by that is he has to get every single person that's employed in that school not just some, not the department chairs, not just some of the rock star teachers that are left, nothing. You have to have a conversation with every single teacher, so there's no in and out groups, and you're listening intently to what they're telling you, because they know what's going on way more than you do, because they're living it every day. You may be observing it, doesn't mean you're experiencing it. There's a big difference between observing and experiencing, right? So I'm going to call you in, I'm going to say, hey, Mr. Kafele, what's really working well and what's not in this school right now? I mean, I know we're having some troubles here, but I want your honest perspective. I need to hear your voice. I need to hear your expertise as to what you think we should be doing. And if you go through all 50 teachers, and it's going to take you some time to do it, but if you go through all 50 teachers, you're going to start noticing themes, and then you're going to know what's really causing your issues. And now what you have to do is, this is where your good PLC stuff comes in. Now what I think you would do is you would engage all those people as stakeholders to help repair it, because it shouldn't just fall on your shoulders. It's a community, right? So let's get them. We're listening to you. And so already you're going to build morale and trust, because you took the time to interview them all, find out what their views are, find out what they really want for themselves. And then you make it happen. You let them have control, and you guide it and facilitate it, but you let them rebuild the school with you step at a time. And yes, other stakeholders could be involved, parents could be involved. And I would 100%, if I was doing this, I would for sure have students on those committees, because their observations about what's going on are probably even more accurate than the teachers. So, that's what I would do. If I was that principal, I would re-enter the school and really have to do a scrub fresh start based on what I could gather data from all people experiencing the school.
Well, and the other piece about the entry plan that's super cool, and is that you're looking at, you're asking them all the same questions, so it's all equal, fair, whatever. But one of the questions is why did you come? Why are you here? What is it about this place that you have an affinity for? It gives it gives you life, it gives you a purpose. Because what people do when they're looking at all these negative situations is they lose that, they forget about that, and they're only focusing on the negative and the awful. And all of a sudden, when you begin to, when you give them this information, you're not interpreting the information, you're just giving it back to them. And people begin to see, wait a minute, this was so cool about ours. Oh yeah, we love this was neat. You begin to bring back some of the wonderful things too, and people can then move forward in some positive light, that, man, we've got a lot to fight for here.
Yeah, and then of course, what she's starting to talk about is something else that we've engaged in quite a bit on and off over the years, is this whole notion of appreciative inquiry. So you use appreciative inquiry to problem solve by finding all the life-giving things that make that school what it was, its history. It used to be a good school. Why was it? And you bring all that back up. What gave life to the school before, we can re-energize, but we just have to know what those are.
Love it. I just reading the comments, and I don't know that you all see what I see. I get to see all four of the platforms, but just a lot of good stuff that people feel that this is helpful for their work. I'm gonna take a quick commercial break, y'all. You know how you watch those this to the family. You know how you watch those podcasts that or that you listen to, or those live streams. I watch a lot of podcasts because of the exercise that I do. So that's what keeps my mind off of the fact that I'm doing something I don't want to do, and that's the 3 miles, right? But I have to do it in order to live another day. So they have these commercials. So I said, man, I need to have my commercial break. So let me get rid of this logo right quick. We're going right back to the discussion, y'all. But I got to do a commercial break. Sorry about that, Lawrence. Don't worry about it.
That's okay. I'd be behind one of your books any day.
Yeah.
I'll look around.
We got like 2,000 been through this already this morning. I got to do a commercial break, y'all. What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? You can pre-order right now. Just go to your other device, go to Amazon, go to ascd.org, go to Barnes & Noble. 4 more weeks and it'll be released. But I want you to go ahead and pre-order it now so that it comes to your home or your school, wherever it's going. the day it's released, as opposed to the book goes out of print because it's sold out, and now you got to wait until ASCD prints up more copies, right? So what is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise? So this quick commercial break was sponsored by What is my value instructionally to the teachers I supervise. Back to your regularly scheduled programming.
You know, yesterday when we were having programming at Rice in the Academy, I announced that you felt that this was the best book you ever wrote. And I got to tell you, I'm stoked for the summer when you're going to be in Houston again.
Yeah.
Talking about that all day. I cannot wait.
I'm looking forward, because that's my content. That's my content for a while now. So appreciate you, Josh. So I got another one, but this is a big one. And again, when I put these together, I'm just thinking about the fam, and I'm thinking about my guest. The assistant principal feeling underutilized, overwhelmed, unheard, and thereby frustrated. That I come to work every day. When I conceptualized that I wanted to be an assistant principal and ultimately a principal, I thought I was going to be doing leadership things. And now here I am. I'm disciplining children every minute of the school day. I'm reading referrals. I'm counseling kids. I'm preaching sermons. And then I go to the cafeteria during lunch, and I'm supervising all the lunch periods. And not to mention the buses I unload in the morning and the buses I load in the afternoon. And then the scenarios, the fires that I put out throughout the course of the day, so to speak. So therefore, the leadership things I thought I was going to do, and particularly the instructional leadership, I cannot do, rooted in my relationship with my principal, right? So the crux of what I just said, the AP principal relationship.
Yeah. Well, okay. So here's what I say. That's on the principal, period. That guy feels that way because of the principal. So one presenter that we have is, one of the professors at Rice. He goes through a very 2-day workshop on leading self and leading teams. And he does it through a very interesting case study about a business case study, but he relates it to education very, very well. And it's all about a guy that's on his team, and the guy's really floundering and not doing well. And he's, blaming all these external things on it. And when it comes down to it, this professor's message at the end of the day, I just love this, and I'll never forget the question because I've heard it 20 times and it still resonates with me. If someone you supervise fails or struggles or is not doing well, you have to ask yourself one question: what did I do to contribute to that? What did I do to contribute to that? Because if you don't realize that you are in charge of that person's growth, and you are watching this guy not instructionally lead, you're allowing it to happen. So you're contributing to his demise. And so if anybody that you're supervising is struggling, you got to take take a step back and go, what have I done or not done to make him feel like that or her feel like that?
Love it.
And then the way I think I'm looking at it too is, if I'm let's say I'm the AP you're talking about, and I'm in this job and I've got it this year. And I may not want to do this job next year because I've learned something here. And back to my control, I don't have control over the supervisor. I could certainly talk to him. That's in my power, but I got to go back to what's in my power. So in my power, what can I control? I can control how I show up and how I do my job and how I think about my job. And I can make it the worst case scenario every day and hate it, because I can do that. Or I can decide what are the words that are the most important to me, that fit into my character and how I want to lead. And what are my 4 or 5 words that every day, if I live those words, I showed up as the human being I want to be. And that's what people got. And I hold myself to those words every day. And if I can do that, I can promise you I'm having a better day already, because I'm living my standards, my values, my words of integrity. And if I'm showing up by just my emotions, I'm certainly not living my words. And so now I'm at a huge disconnect with my own persona. And so I would still go back to what's in my control. And what is in my control is that. And then in addition, I know butts and buses and all that's not a glamorous job, but there's a lot of leadership in that job.
Mhm.
There is a lot of leading in that job. And it's just not the kind of leading maybe I wanted or I thought I was going to have. It's like the assistant coach who can poke holes in what the head coach does all day long. Why didn't he do this? Why didn't he do that? Why we do? And then he becomes the head coach and he goes, oh, now I see. So there's, that some of this is, believe it or not, as an AP, it's messy, hard, unglamorous work, but it actually does give you some leadership muscle that you wouldn't get if you didn't do it. And so that's another way just to look at it.
I'm thinking, I'm still on, because my mind in the season that I'm in, relative to the topic of that book, my mind is on this instructional side.
Mm.
And I'm thinking about that AP I just described, not being able to be that mentor, that support, that coach to the teachers that are assigned to him or her, right? The ones that he or she supervises. I can't be that person, but there's a big conversation. There's ongoing conversation that I've got to have with my principal, but I'm not comfortable in having that conversation. So I'm with everything you just said in terms of me. And I'm also with you when you said there's got to be a conversation. But now to add to that, here's my question to the fam, and then I'll throw it at the two of you to see if you want to say anything about it. To the fam, do you know how to talk to your principal? Because any two, three, 4, 5 different principals could be very different from one another. Like, for example, here's a good example. I'm doing a keynote in a little while, right? You're looking at my attire today. This is what I'm walking on that stage with. But I can't do this everywhere. Some places they'll probably say to me, yo, right? But, or they'll let me, but they'll probably never bring me back. But I know that because of the vibe here with this particular conference, I know what I can wear, I know what I can say, and I know how I can say it without raising the anxiety levels of the people that invited me to come here, right? So in other words, I know how to, people call it code switch. I don't want to call this code switching. I know how to adjust and adapt to different people that I'm confronted by and that I deal with, work with, etc. So with your principal, maybe that's a person that you got to step up your people skills and be able to talk to this person differently than what you're accustomed to or what you're comfortable with because of the personality of this person. Whereas if this person had a different personality and they're so open to you and you can talk to them about anything, even personally, not just professionally, that will bring about a different you. But if this is a person that they're cold, they're standoffish, they're distant, and all that kind of stuff, and they're hard-nosed, and you're not comfortable, then you got to figure out, how do I talk to this person and ultimately be able to influence this person to come around to my way of thinking, right? And that's not necessarily easy, but it's necessary in conjunction with everything that just said about what you're doing inside, right? Your own self-talk, right? Any thoughts?
Well, I'm just thinking that probably the instructional side of it is part of this AP's job.
Yeah.
And that's probably the principal's expectation. You're doing all that and you're doing this. And so back to what we talked about earlier with the disconnect between central office and school, it might behoove, one of the first strategies I would use is a couple of things. One, I'd go in with the right energy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm willing, I'm optimistic, I'm just explaining some things. And I would actually not assume that the principal really realized how much all this time took for me to do all these jobs and how much, I would have my times literally planned out to show after I do everything I have to do, I have this teeny tiny sliver for instruction. And yet that's the linchpin that we have to be successful. And, just to make that kind of a clear visual without assuming that he understands all of that and he's just, whatever. Because I do believe sometimes he's twice as busy as you are. So his expectation might be you can get all this done. And so maybe we need to get on the same page about what all is it that and he may even say, I didn't mean for you to be in those things all the whole time. Who knows? You could come up with some real realizations, but I would for sure set myself up for not walking in with the chip on my shoulder, not walking in angry, not walking in frustrated. I would get my mind right to say, hey, I'm going to present a really clear argument. I'm going to be open and willing and optimistic and very clear. And I'm going to see if we can come to some sort of a resolution where I buy more time for the instructional side of my job.
And back to what you said in the very beginning, Principal Kafele, it'd be really simple if you had a leadership team and you were the principal and you asked the 3 words, how are you?
Yeah. About that.
How are you? And I'm asking you. I'm not waiting for you to come into the office and tell me. I'm checking in with you because, again, I got to keep an eye on them the same way that if you're a teacher, you have to keep an eye on your kids and you have to check in on them. If they seem off, you don't ignore them. So if I'm really an observer of my team and I'm really paying attention to them because they're so important, I'd notice that Kim was acting like that. I would notice that she seems frustrated or angry, or she'd be wearing a body language that would show. And so I would, you have to ask. You just have to ask, how are you? Are you okay? Is everything going for you the way you want it to? Because in the long run, my job is to support all those APs so they can support their teachers. Yeah. That's why I said what I said before. If I don't do that, I got to ask myself what I did to let that person down, because I did.
I love it. I got one more, and then I'm gonna reach out to the 2. We got to do a part 2, right? Because it's just so much. We're not even gonna get halfway today, right? But that tends to be normal on this platform. So we'll just schedule the part 2, and we'll get more in. But I got this one more that again, I'm thinking about the fam out there, our audience, staff. I really got 2 that I really want to get in. Let me see if I can get them both in. Staff not buying into, believing in, committing to the mission and the vision of my school. As the principal, this is my frustration, my challenge, my discouragement. I have a school that does not buy into who we are. What would you say to that, principal?
I think my first question would be, how much input and collectiveness did they have to buy into that?
There you go.
Because if it's yours, I don't know. I mean, it's easy for me not to buy into something I don't have investment in. Right. I didn't help create. That's right. Easy. So, and we have so much turnover. I think one of the problems, Principal Kafele, we have so much turnover right now. I'm constantly revisiting and reselling my vision, right? But guess what? I have to do that, because if I don't do that, I can't assume I had a 20, 30, 40% staff turnover, but we did all this visioning, all this work last year. You know what I'm saying? We have to actually keep revisiting it. And, a big piece of that vision, it has to be articulated well with every single staff member, not by just knowing the statement, but knowing how that operationalizes. I think there's so little conversations out there around how do we operationalize a vision. We know what the vision is, but nobody knows what that actually means. What actions are we taking? What exactly do we mean when we say we want to be this or that? How does that actually look? And those are great conversations to be had continuously, because guess what? Our population changes, that things morph a little bit. And as the leader, and even as the AP, I have to keep that in mind, that as we have new people, they have to be reintroduced or introduced to what the vision is. And they just can't catch on and join up because they're new and they've been here 3 months and get with the program kind of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. If it's like that, you certainly didn't communicate the vision well enough to make ownership occur, like Kim said. I mean, that's again going to fall on the shoulders of the principal, understanding that that's an area that really needs to be reworked, because if people are that distraught about it, you certainly did not come through and give them the ownership of it at all.
Yeah, I think about often, and I guess I've written extensively about this, and I've spoken extensively, that if I'm the principal and I hand out the mission of the school, I hand out the vision, then as you said, Kim, it's going to be hard for me to take ownership of that because I wasn't given the opportunity to participate in its development, right? So I'm just receiving it. Now, any given school, there's a cluster of teachers in a building that are going to do whatever the principal says because they just love the principal, right? They just whatever for whatever the reason. But then you got the rest of the building where this guy don't mean nothing to me, right? So I got to earn that one. But if I give you, even if you don't want to participate, but you saw that I gave you the opportunity to, that matters, right? If staff decided, no, we trust you, okay, now I feel like they're still on board because they gave me that permission, as opposed to me just saying, here, take this. This is who we are. This is our mission. This is our vision. So that matters to the fam out there. I want to assume that all of you have a mission statement, vision statement, but I'm saying that I'm being friendly when I say that, because in most places I go, when I'm in a room full of leaders and I say, what is the mission statement of your school? The room it just falls silent. And I don't, after about 5 seconds, I'll say, what is the mission here? Or or your respective schools, because it may be a room full of principals. What's the mission? And after 5 seconds, no one says anything. I say, okay, I got my answer. Right. And then we go on and have the conversation. There is no mission, right? Or it's not known, or it's just a compliance document. So that's important. I'm not going to get into a mission and vision discussion. I just wanted to say that. I just wanted to throw this one more at you, and then we're going to get to our rapid fire questions, and then we'll schedule a second one. Low expectations. Consistent with the mission and the vision, but now here's this principal, it's AP, either one, and they're frustrated by the fact that, man, I want to take this school to another level. I want to make this a high performing school, despite the challenges that of the community upon which it's situated. But my staff have low expectations because of the community that the school is situated in. That at least that's one of the variables, without me politicizing this question. So therefore, as a principal, what advice do you have for me going back to school Monday, knowing that I have a staff that doesn't share my expectations, which are through the roof for the students that I lead?
And then you said because of the community in which it.
Yeah. So they're looking at the neighborhood and that type of thing, stereotype.
Yeah, well, so that's a principal that has certainly not done a good job in engaging the community with his faculty, because I don't care if it's an impoverished community, it still has a richness, right? There's still a whole lot out there. There's a history that they're making assumptions about because they haven't been exposed to it. There has to be a better way of building a relationship between your faculty and the community in which it lives. They don't understand it, so they fear it, and they think it's not. That means bad kids are going to come to the school because they're poor. Well, that's ridiculous. They're not bad because they're poor. They're just poor. But they make assumptions. So if I have a faculty of people making assumptions that the community is rotten and the kids coming are rotten, I have to work with the community to come into the school and show how cool the community is.
Yeah.
What I was thinking about around behaviors is just the lack of optimism there that you got, because low expectations can be equated to pessimism, right? I just don't think I'm going to lower it because I can't do it. And so optimism, it's actually a teachable skill. It's not, hey, I'm an optimist or I'm a pessimist. It's a teachable skill. So as the principal of that building, I'd work a lot on the optimism, because it's the highest, most direct correlation word is resilience. And resilience equates to success because I keep working, right? And so I'm wondering if there's just ways to really build the optimism inside your staff, not just about looking at themselves optimistically, but looking at the situations optimistically. Because if you look at like Martin Seligman's work, he's a leading psychologist over on optimism and resilience. He says, here's what optimists do, and this is in any situation. If whether it's the army and I'm in a war, or whether I'm in a classroom as a teacher, or whether I'm a student doing my work, or whether I'm even a parent working with my own kid. But optimists keep trying. They bounce back quicker. They have more control over their inner dialogue, and they understand the inner dialogue. They overwhelmingly perform better, even under stress. They're overachievers and overperformers. And I love this. They can pick up and refocus and recapture momentum. So what if I were just an optimistic teacher? Gosh, look at what I could be doing.
And Principal Kafale, are you familiar with Ken Leithwood, University of Toronto, a leadership expert?
Leithwood?
Leithwood, Leithwood.
No, I'm not.
He does a lot of work around the impact that leadership has on achievement. And of course, it's indirect inside of a school. But he recently started writing about what he calls personal leadership resources. And they're exactly what Kim's talking about. Some of them are ethical, some of them are psychological, some of them are social. But they are things like optimism, resilience, hope, self-awareness. There's actual true research that leaders that possess those things are not only more effective, they retain their teachers, and they impact reading and math scores with proof that it's all based on those personal leadership resources that they're able to draw upon that Kim's talking about.
Okay, I need to look them up.
Oh, his work is fascinating. You'll really like it.
I will. Look here, we've got so much more to cover, so I'll send you some dates and we'll do that. But in the meantime, I have my BAM impact questions. There are 20 questions. I give you 10 and 10, and they're just one sentence or one word answers. If you find yourself inserting a comma, then you're going too long. I might say, right? So here we go. We start with Lawrence. Is education on the right path for underserved children in America?
No.
Are you optimistic about the educational prospects for the masses of Black, brown, and other underserved students in America today?
As of a week ago, no.
Can true equity occur in America's schools for Black, brown, and other underserved students?
Yes, but with a lot of effort.
Does Dr. Lawrence Kohn's work contribute to the progress we desperately need?
100%.
If you could do a reset on your life, would your line of work be different or the same?
100% the same.
Why do you continue to do this work?
Because it's who I am. It's been my whole life as an educator. Sorry, too long.
No, that's good. No, that's fine. What particularly fires you up within the work that you do?
Seeing growth, seeing people become successful, seeing changes that are for the best for them.
And what is it about this work that you just absolutely love?
Just being with the leaders, being with the educators side by side. When we get to see them once a month at Rice, it's a real treat. I can tell you that.
I love it. What do you dislike about the work?
This is a bad one, but I'm just going to say where I live, the state I'm in.
He's in Texas, y'all.
Well, hey, I'm just saying.
Right.
We'll probably say the same thing.
Yeah. And last one, what has been your greatest victory thus far?
Greatest what?
Greatest victory.
Oh, I think what I'm doing right now might be the greatest victory in my whole career. I've gotten to do a whole lot of things, but working with leaders in these schools, in my community, one of the greatest honors of my life.
Love it. Kim, what was your greatest mistake in this work?
Honestly, just the unawareness that I had of how powerful my mind is and how many cool things I could have been doing much long time ago.
All right. What has been your greatest challenge in this work?
For me, I just think in the work that I'm doing right now, the biggest challenge is being able to show people their power.
Who inspires you in your work?
My clients, every day, and what they do.
What are you reading right now? It doesn't have to be a book. It can be anything, including a tweet. What are you reading?
I'm rereading Dale Carnegie's book about how to win friends and influence people.
Influence people. I don't think I speak to an audience without recommending that book.
I recommend it to every client.
Yeah. What book do you recommend for our viewers? And that's probably the same book, or do you have something else?
I think that one is kind of my go-to book because it's so much about human nature. And even though it was written back when, it's applicable.
1936. What do you want to accomplish that you have not accomplished yet?
Just to continue to grow the love yourself muscle of my grandkids.
Are you satisfied with where you are professionally now? I don't mean in terms of your position, but I mean in terms of just where you are within the work.
Totally at peace.
What could you say to a viewer out there right now who's watching, who continues to face closed doors?
The most important person that you have to convince is successful is you. What you say to yourself matters so much.
What could you say to a viewer out there who's lost their fire?
Go back and remember what your words are and live them, and you'll regain your fire.
If Kim Huseman was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Enlightened.
Enlightened. If Dr. Lawrence Kohn was a word in a dictionary, what would be your definition?
Relationships.
Powerful stuff. And Yolanda McKinney, who's someone that matters to me, she said, Dr. Kohn, I hope to connect. Your words are powerful. She's right there.
Love to.
Texas, right? So I'm sure she'll be reaching out. Listen, great stuff, y'all. And I knew I wasn't going to get to everything, but I just wanted to get some of those scenario questions in there, and we did. To the fam out there, you know how we applaud our guests. You've already started, and I always appreciate you all starting early. But to the ones who were first timers, and you're seeing all these folks putting emojis up, and you're wondering what that is, that's how we applaud our guests. So if you would just, if today's session, if it resonated with you, if it was good stuff, if it was relatable, if it's something that you could use, that you could implement when you get back to school on Monday, give us your favorite emojis. Just put them on your thread, and I'll highlight them here, or I'll see them here, I should say. But just give us those emojis. As I see, man, we got a lot of emojis on here. So yeah, keep those emojis coming. I see them. And you know, I use my big Louisville Slugger when I'm home, but I'm on the road. I can't bring that with me, so I bring my little miniature joint, right? So y'all, the two of you certainly hit it out the park. Every time you came to bat, man, it was a grand slam home run. So great stuff. Talk to the folks out there, I guess, particularly the Texas folks. How can they become a part of Leadership Partners and anything in any consulting that you do? Just give it all right here.
Well, the easiest, Kim is our lead executive coach, and all that we're talking about today is very much involved in the coaching model that we have. And it's not coaching you to be, it's not the kind of coaching that's technical to make you, a better principal. It's so you can become the best version of yourself. And as Kim always says, so you show up as the best version of yourself, that you're self-aware and you know how to lead yourself. And that coaching is part of the academy that people attend at Rice. And so, if you're in the greater Houston area, we've got people attending that between Huntsville all the way down to Galveston as far west as Kading, as far east as Beaumont. The people have attended that academy. But if you're not in this area, coaching is definitely a possibility because it's done via Zoom, it's virtual, and we've got 5 coaches that are ICF certified that do that work for us. And so there's individual coaching, there's team coaching, because you can be coached up yourself, but if your admin team's in the toilet, you're in trouble, right? And so we've got a really dynamic team coach who also does some very good work around performance coaching. So those are some of the things that we do. It's a lot of coaching, but it's trying to give leaders things that you just don't get when you're becoming professionally developed through either your certification process or even just going to different conferences. We're trying to offer things that are not mainstream. So like using MBA professors to teach them organizational leadership competencies. But the mantra is we're developing the whole leader. Just like principals are developing the whole child, we believe there needs to be a whole leader. You've got to be good between your ears, but you got to have your good competencies at the same time.
And if you're interested, you can just check out our website. It's just go to Leadership Partners Texas. If you Google that, it'll come up.
Right.
Leadership Partners Texas.
Yeah, that would be the Google term you would use. But it's leadershippartnerstx.com if you want the whole URL.
Y'all got that? Leadership Partners
TX.com.
LeadershipPartnersTX.com. Check them out. And when will what month will I be there again?
You're coming in the summer this time. Remember, we had to switch you and Dr. Muhammad around this year.
Yeah.
You usually come in January, but Anthony Muhammad's coming in January.
Okay. Yeah. So folks out there, you know that Anthony Muhammad's been on here before. You know that he and I, some of you may not know, but he and I are selected for this group called the Global Gurus.
That's right.
They've been selecting us, the 2 of us.
Hey, we got 2 of the top 10 global gurus. We have 2 of them.
They ask us to put a link on our page and for your social media contacts to vote for you to see who's number 1 and all that. And I stopped doing that. A lot of people reached out to me. They said, Kafele, when you going to post a link so I can vote for you? So I'm not, right? It's wherever I fall is fine. I'm not asking anyone to vote for me to be number 1. Right. I'm done with that. So, but it's an honor to be on that list. And, and that's that, especially with my brother, Dr. Muhammad. So listen, y'all, to the fam, I gotta, let's see, I gotta do a keynote in an hour. So I'm getting ready to cut it short, but I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Right. Thanks for being here. And, we know, I don't know if all of you would know and if you'd even care, but the bulk of our views are the videos, not the live. So we know that there's a lot of people who will see this later throughout the course of today, really. And then tomorrow and Monday and on their way to work every day, we see those numbers. So I see what happens. So good stuff. Let me put this website up here. Thank you, Valerie. And LeadershipPartnersTX.com. Let me close out. Next week number, and you stay on for me, y'all, so we can talk off camera. Next week number 239. Some of you may have heard of this young lady. She's nationally renowned. Dr. Cynthia Mama J Johnson. She's from Kansas. She's gonna have that energy, man. I remember one year. I'm gonna tell y'all this. Now I'm gonna tell y'all when she's on the screen. I'll tell you that. But Dr. Cynthia Mama J Johnson, that's what she's known as, Mama J. So she'll be with me, former principal, now central office, but once a principal, always a principal. Next Saturday, as in every Saturday, Facebook Live, Sean Hurt, 10 o'clock. Create and Educate with Dr. Sheikah Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor, 10:30. AP and New Principals Academy, me, 10:55. And then PDP podcast, Josh Tovar on Sunday. Got to give you a sneak peek. Create and Educate with Dr. Sheikah Houston and Dr. Tammy Taylor. They had the National Principal of the Year, Tracy Twilley, on today. I have her scheduled for, or Swilly. I have her scheduled for November 30th. So she'll be back on. So some of you saw her today with Create and Educate, and then I'll have her on November 30th. on this platform. So we'll hear from her a second time. The books, make sure that you get yourself a copy of all my books, but in particular, we'll put it on this side this time. Make sure you get yourself What Is My Value? Instructionally to the teachers I supervise. You can get that right now. Just go to Amazon, pre-order, or ASCD.org or BarnesandNoble.com, and then the book will be released on December 16th. I post an excerpt of the book every Sunday morning, so there'll be a paragraph just to give you a little glimpse into what the book is about. So that'll be tomorrow, Sunday. Subscribe to the AP New Principals Academy YouTube channel. Hit the notification bell as well. Subscribe or follow and like and follow the AP and New Principals Academy Facebook page. I'm rebranding that page. I just haven't conceptualized what that means yet, but we're gonna do something with it because I don't like it right now. It's got like 10,200 followers. The YouTube channel has 22,800 subscribers, but I need to do something different with that Facebook page. So that's coming. I just got to conceptualize what that is. And then visit principalkafele.com. Make sure that you also check out on the website, principalkafele.com, my School Leadership Institute, July 15 and 16 in Raleigh, North Carolina. So although that feels like that's forever, that's like, when is that? That's never going to get here. It'll be here. Register now. Get it out the way. July 15, 16, Raleigh, North Carolina, School Leadership Institute with Principal Kafele. We do this annually. We've been doing this like 7 years or something. So just come on and join us there. And then visit principalkafele.com for additional resources. And then finally, as I say every Saturday to close us out, your diet. Make sure that you eating right, man. Last night I was in this restaurant here in Houston, Grand Luxor. I thought that was only in Vegas, but they got one in Houston, right? And they had the nice chocolate cake, man, on the menu, man. And I said, nah, we ain't eating that. We ain't doing it. So I just had my dinner, and then I walked out of there. Then they had the nerve to have the cake in the lobby. So when you're walking out, you see the whole cake, right? I'm like, man, that thing got my name on it, baby. But I said, we're going to leave that cake right there. And I left, right? And all I had for the rest of the night was water, right? So your diet, your exercise, get that in. I get in at midnight tonight in Greensboro, North Carolina. But tomorrow morning before the football games, I'm gonna put in them 3 miles, right? So you got to get it in when you can. Right. And then lastly, your virus precautions. A lot of stuff out here, y'all. Ooh, especially on them airplanes. So make sure that you're doing whatever is necessary to take care of yourselves. Other than that, I appreciate you being here. I'll see you next week. But before we get to next week, you have a great, extraordinary week coming ahead. Other than that, have a great week. Have an extraordinary week. Have your best week yet. Peace. Peace. Thumbs up. Cock that fist back. Count to 3. 1, 2, 3. Bam! I see y'all next week. I'll think about you when I'm doing this keynote this afternoon.